just make a game that is entirely that. Hold down X to suffocate baby. So basically what happens is Warren Spector comes out in this interview last week and he's all like, dude, we have got to tone down the ultra violence in video games. And then everybody starts responding, including Cliffy B.
Cliffy B should not have a thing to say in that conversation.
He makes violent video games for a living.
Cliffy B has, the last game he made that didn't have violence in it was Jazz Jackrabbit, and he was 16, you know?
Yeah, Jazz had a pretty big gun though.
Yeah, there you go. Like, what's that Cliffy
And
B
his eyes
game?
were really menacing.
Okay.
You
but,
may
I
be
mean,
thinking of Spaz.
The guy put chainsaws on machine guns, and he's like, I don't think video games are too violent, as he drives away in his Lamborghini. Like,
well, what's interesting is everybody had such a knee-jerk reaction, and they were like, I can't believe he said this, violence is fine in video games, and it's like, it was totally like a read the fucking article thing, because he was like, listen, violence has its place. If it fits in a game, if we do it responsibly within the story, it's good.
I'm pretty much with him.
Yeah.
You know, the guy made Deus Ex, which has some violence in it, but he's like, yeah, you don't have to do it. And the new Deus Ex, it had that too. You could stealth around, except then you come into the boss fights and you actually have to fight them. The fact is, making games where you don't have to fight makes for a more challenging game than one where you just kill everything in your way. And if you did watch the trailers for, for games at E3, I really like Dishonored. I know Dishonored is going to be one of those games where you don't have to kill everyone.
Yeah.
But in the trailer, they're like just a montage of just neck juice, just spurting everywhere.
I'm glad you brought this up because Anthony and I saw God of War at E3, and I have never been so disturbed by violence in a video game in my life. And it wasn't the violence per se, it was the fact that the elephant god guy, it was like the fact that it was animals, even though they were completely fictional animals, really disturbed me. Well, and that just like ripping the horns off the goat, I was like, ugh, dude, I don't like this.
Yeah, people respond to violence against animals actually more than they do.
Totally, I have no problem with shooting humans.
Really bizarre. Here's the thing. My issue with violence is, like, I'm okay with it in games, whatever. If you're gonna have it there, it's part of gaming. You know, I mean, since gaming has been a thing, there's been shooting at stuff and jumping on things. I mean, Mario goes around killing turtles all the time. What's up with that?
Poor things.
The thing I hate is when it's just so over the top and there is nothing to balance it out.
Yeah.
And this is gonna be the weirdest thing to say, but one big thing for me when I'm playing a game is like, whether or not it makes like a game that I'm interested in or like that I'm really impressed by is like, would I want to show this to family members? Would I want to show this to people who aren't gamers? And that's not saying that I want something that's like pandering to the outside, but it's like Skyrim gets pretty brutal, but it's not just like a blood physics engine. Like it's just there's other stuff in
violence
there
isn't
too.
the focus of Skyrim like it is in a lot of games.
It's a well-rounded focus. And even with a game like Max Payne, it's like the amount of detail they put into, like costumes and art direction and writing and other stuff. And it's like the game mechanic is pretty much just shoot guys in the face, but at the same time they're also, pushing story and stuff like that.
Well, so here's an interesting option, I guess. Zombies. All zombie games are incredibly violent. Do you think that kind of falls under the umbrella of this?
Well, you're getting into like a horror genre thing, and
not necessarily. Like Lollipop Chainsaw, for instance, incredibly violent. I wouldn't consider that a horror game, but it is very.
But it is a horror. It is like a horror parody kind of exploitation movie thing.
Lollipop Chainsaw had rainbows and glitter shooting out of things when you cut them.
Exactly. It was on the ridiculous side of the spectrum.
I thought that was really cool. That was one of the first things that impressed me.
Yeah, I think, with something like Lollipop Chainsaw, the tone really helps, and the fact that they've created like this sort of silly world and put it in there kind of helps, because it does, that's something that Suda51 always does, is he tries to remove violence and kind of turn it into this stylized video game thing. It's like the Scott Pilgrim thing of hitting people and coins come out.
And it's way out there.
Yeah, so that I think is okay, because once again, it's a stylistic thing and it serves the narrative. I mean, when we're thinking about ultra-violent games that maybe Warren Spector had in mind, what are we thinking?
I think he was talking specifically about how much it's being like used as a marketing device. Like the Dishonored trailer. Dishonored is going to be a really, really good game, and that's actually made by Harvey Smith, who's one of the guys who worked on the original Deus Ex.
Yeah.
You know, with Warren Spector. And then in the trailer, they're like, again, slow motion montage of just people bleeding out the necks. That does not sell the game on a smart level.
Well,
that's like,
how do you show somebody a 10-minute stealth route through a room in a 2-minute trailer and get them excited about the game? Like, I think that's the problem in marketing, is they go for whatever is like instantaneous reaction.
But when you do actually play Dishonored, there is a lot of sneaking up behind guys and stabbing them in the neck and watching their necks squirt out blood. Like that was a really violent game. Like, even though it's not really action-packed, the action parts are violent.
They showed me a demo. I mean, it can be violent. They showed me a demo where you can go through the entire level and literally not touch anybody.
Yeah.
You can.
But how many people are going to play that way?
I don't know. People want a challenge. You know, if you want to go through stabbing everybody, it's like, you know, that's cool.
One of the first things people asked when I
grade,
saw the Last of Us demo is like 3 people immediately afterwards raised their hands and they were like, "Is there a no-kill option?" Like, people want to know that now.
Yeah.
Like, people want to know that they can be the guy who doesn't shoot everybody in the face with a shotgun. People want to know that, like, they have those options.
It's more for the challenge, though, and not because they don't like the violence,
Sure.
I would assume.
And that's another interesting point, is when people use violence, when game designers use violence, it usually simplifies the gameplay.
It's an easy way out a lot of the time.
And then something like a stealthy thing, like The Last of Us or like Dishonored, becomes like a way for people who want to get that challenge in gameplay. They can get that because violence is too often just used as the easy way out. Is there a game that is ultra violent, that we would consider ultra violent, that is also kind of challenging and engaging in the same way that something like a Dishonored would be, or a Thief or something like that?
I'd say Half-Life 2, maybe.
I think there are plenty of games that have a balance between story and shooting. Like, just like Mass Effect 3, I wouldn't necessarily call the shooting in that game challenging by any means.
Yeah.
It's also not super violent either.
No, it's not super violent.
And that's pretty much just like, shoot the spacemen, they're sort of robots. There was that Sega game that came out. God.
Super Monkey Ball.
No.
Super Monkey Ball Banana Blitz.
Okay.
Banana Blitz, yes.
Super Monkey Ball Banana Splits.
It was Banana Splits.
It was like Infinity Omega something or Space Void or some crap.
Binary Domain?
That's the one, Binary Domain.
Yeah.
And they had robots as the enemies, but it was super gruesome to blow up the robots, which I thought was brilliant because they're just robots. And it like that's the corner that Lucas cut in the prequels, is he's like, I can make this kid friendly by having Jedi Knights cut up these fucking robots, and they're like, oh no, Roger. But it's like, they're not humans. They just look like humans. I don't know.
The distinction is such
they're screaming and their robot gears are shooting out everywhere. That's gross.
Now we're getting into some like philosophical stuff. Now we're talking about whether robots are living things. This is some Blade Runner shit.
Yeah.